I'll speak to Labat Africa Group CEO Rooyen. He joins us via Zoom for a little bit more on this. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program, Mr. Rooyen.
Good evening, Peter, and good evening to the viewers.
All right, so it looks like from the sound of this report that we have so much potential, but we seem to be getting in our own way.
Yes, Peter, the fundamental thing for the South African market is the amount of expertise and the amount of technology that we've got in South Africa, which has been gladly taken by European markets. You know, our climate, we've been growing cannabis for many, many years. We've got different strains, we've got all the know-how. And yet the regulatory process is causing a problem. If one just looked at the 100-odd licenses that has been issued by the regulator, which is SAPRA, for cannabis in South Africa, the conditions of those permits and licenses is beyond the reach of many, many South Africans. And let me just give you an example. If you have a license from SAPRA at the moment, you can only grow, cultivate, and export. You can do nothing with the product in South Africa. You export it, and in many cases, a lot of the retailers will import it back into South Africa. There's been a few licenses issued by SAPRA recently, and that is to extract. So now 4 or 5 licenses people can extract from that. The problem that you have, we're falling back into the trap of our beneficiation of our mineral resources in South Africa. We're taking our top grade, and let's take our company as an example. We're exporting to Australia at the moment, and we're exporting a product at way below what our product is basically just repackaged, adding a few things, and put 600 times more value onto the shelves in Australia. So that's just one of the examples. People are looking, the international market is looking at the South African market because of the quality of the product. We've now received requests from European countries to supply them with product from South Africa. That's just on the medicinal and adult use side. Some of the countries in the European Union, like Germany, Spain, Portugal, have opened their markets. We still diddling with something that could unlock over 150,000 jobs. If I just step slightly away from the medicinal cannabis in South Africa to the industrial hemp. Industrial hemp, for instance, could save so many subsistence farmers in various farming communities, women in farming, youth in farming. Because if we look at industrial hemp, for instance, those crops, you can have 4 to 5 crops a year as opposed to any other agricultural product in the country. So we've done an in-depth analysis. If I just mention one particular product out of hemp, and that is hemp plastic for the automobile industry in South Africa. That's over 4 or 5 billion rand a year. That's all imported. It can be grown in tons and tons in South Africa.
All right, so what are the authorities saying? Let's start with institutions like SAPRA. What rationale are they using for restricting the licenses and what you can do?
Peter, it's very complicated in this instance because as we speak, cannabis is still classified as Schedule 5 drug under the Narcotics Act. So from a medical and a medicinal point of view, I can understand the dilemma that SAPRA finds itself into in terms of regulation. However, from a medicinal side, we've been granted permission to conduct observational studies to use cannabis as an alternative to opiates for pain management. That is happening. It is now moved so far in places like the UK as well as Germany that the medical aid companies are now paying for those usages as well. From an industrial hemp, that's where the problem is, because people might not want to, as we know it, plant dagga for adult use or recreational use. They want to plant it for industrial purposes. But here's the problem. With all the available land and the farmers and the water and everything, technology that we've got in South Africa, it's no use allowing people to plant hemp in this country because there's not one single hemp processing facility in the country. So part of our expansion program, with our monies that we've raised on the market and investments that we've made personally, one of the first things that we are now working on is, two things. From a medicinal side, we're busy setting up our extraction facility at our facility out in Kenton-on-Sea in the Eastern Cape. And we're also looking at a pilot project to have a hemp processing facility so that we can get all these subsistence farmers, people with 1 hectare of land, 5 hectares of land, 10 hectares of land, they can plant hemp. We will provide the seeds, we will provide the strains, we will provide the technical support. We need to get, this is a brand new industry, and we should be taking advantage of this industry. But the problem that you're sitting with, hemp and cannabis, both from the cannabis family, are intertwined, and there's strict regulations that if you plant hemp, you can't have a product that contains the THC or CBD or all those.
Aren't there lessons that our legislators could learn from other parts of the world that have gone through this process, and they've already seen the results of relaxing some of these rules?
Peter, that is so true, because now we've got to go, because of legislative restrictions, we've got to import products from America. Just the other day, we've announced that we have acquired 100% shareholding in a Miami-based CBD lifestyle brand called EcoLife. EcoLife, we now have the rights locally to distribute the American pre-rolled hemp smokable Ace and Axel for the next 10 years. We've got energy bars, we've got energy drinks. All those type of things can be easily produced within the South African market. Needless to say that the two brands that we brought for the extraction facility out of California and the Eco brands out of Miami are South Africans. These are South African boys that have gone and set up these operations out in the US.
All right, Mr. Van Rooyen, let's hope that the President is listening to what you're saying right now, and that he sits with his cabinet and sorts this out, because there's so much revenue, so many jobs waiting to be exploited.
And the rehabilitation of old mining dumps, because this is a carbon credit facility. I mean, hemp plants consume so much carbon dioxide that the world wouldn't worry about us burning coal anymore for our electricity because we will have so much carbon credits.
Mr. Van Rooyen, we're going to have to leave it there. Great talking to you again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Peter, and good night.
Good night to you. All right, that's the Labat Africa Group CEO, Rooyen Van Rooyen, who is speaking to us about the restrictions, legislative issues around cannabis, its industrial use, and there are so many jobs potentially that we're losing out on and income for the country if we just get out of our own way. Stay with us. You're watching The Globe.